My name is Charlie. Crutchfield and Wilson are my attorneys, and this is my story. Not long ago, I found myself in the position of having to sue a contractor. Being new to the area, I didn't know anybody, so I searched for attorneys online and settled on one that said he had expertise in the space. Well, a year and a half went by, and there was little to no action on my case. And I ran into a friend who had recommended Greg Crutchfield to me. I set up a meeting, and within a half hour, I realized this was the attorney I should have been using all along. 30 days later, I had the case settled, I had a check in my hand, and I've been a client ever since.
My name is Elaine, and Crutchfield and Wilson are my attorneys, and this is my story. About 10 years ago, we were looking for an attorney to help us through some family issues. We did go the normal routes most people go to, the internet, the yellow pages, maybe even by phone. Once we found Mr. Crutchfield, it was a dream come true to us. He has so helped us make our dreams come true and to make us feel great and warm and welcome in his office. His staff has been wonderful, and he has just made us complete as a family. We are so in debt to him for everything that he's done. Him and his firm have been there for us, and hopefully if we ever need them again, we can always call on them.
Crutchfield and Wilson are my attorneys. My name is Cheryl, and this is my story. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was looking for an attorney. My teenage son got in trouble, criminal charges, and so we interviewed 4 or 5 attorneys. I didn't like their atmosphere, I didn't like their personalities, I didn't like anything they brought to the table. I didn't feel comfortable with them, and neither did my son. So a friend of mine recommended Craig Crutchfield, and I was nervous about meeting another attorney, so I said, why don't you come with me since you're a friend of his? And when he came into the room, he approached us with warmth and a family feeling, and he directed himself to my son first, and then to me, and he let us know that, he can help us. I mean, he just made us feel, thank you, Jesus, we finally have an attorney that cares about us and our situation. And we asked him to leave the room so my son and I could discuss it with each other. And my son said, Mom, I want him, And it was the first time that he had a good night's sleep in 2 weeks, and he just felt at peace with Greg. And when it was all said and done, I mean, he helped my son with the situation and was dropped out of court. And, he's a 23-year-old young man and living his life, and if it wasn't for Greg, he could have been in jail. And I love my kids. Any mother would, The whole company is so family oriented, and they make you feel, like you're part of them and they care. And that's what makes a difference. That Crutchfield and Wilson is a different attorney law firm than any other law firm that I've ever dealt with.
My name is Eleni, and Crutchfield and Wilson are my attorneys, and this is my story. I met Greg about 10 years ago when I was going through a divorce. It took about 2 years to get completed, and Greg was right on everything that I asked. He was on everything in a timely manner, and currently I have a couple of customers of mine that have recently asked for an attorney and a referral, and I have referred them to Greg. Also, just a few months ago, I had another issue that I needed resolved in the courts, and within a couple of weeks, it was taken care of. Greg has been awesome. He is right on time with everything. His staff is great, and I would definitely refer him to anyone who asked.
Hi, my name is Ralph, and Crutchfield and Wilson, they're my attorneys, and this is my story. I met the Crutchfield-Wilson law firm when there was a time in my family where I needed some legal assistance for a family member, and having lived in the area for approximately 10 years, riding up and down US 1, I noticed the Crutchfield-Wilson law firm, stepped in and met Greg, and found Greg to be a very personable individual. He helped assist us with our legal matter, and it was resolved in a very satisfactory way for my family. And Greg was willing to accommodate our working hours and met with us after work and assisted us with everything that we needed. And I would highly recommend the Crutchfield-Wilson law firm for anyone who needs legal assistance. Very personable, and they get the job done.
Hello, my name is Mary. I'm a Crutchfield and Wilson client, and this is my story. When I needed an attorney in Florida, I was looking for 3 qualities. The first was competency, the second was responsiveness, and the third was professionalism. By competency, I mean somebody who was battle-tested, who knew the case law that was pertinent to my case. As far as responsiveness, I wanted somebody who would be willing to teach me my rights under the law. And by professionalism, I mean I needed a firm to represent me in the public arena who would efficiently handle my case with dignity. I would completely recommend Greg Crutchfield and his excellent team of paralegals for any of your legal needs.
My name is Tracy, and Crutchfield and Wilson are my attorneys, and this is my story. A while back, I found myself in need of a good divorce attorney, and I had nowhere to turn. I wasn't sure where to go. But every day on my way to work, I would drive by Crutchfield and Wilson's office. So I said, I might as well try and go inside and see if these are the attorneys for me. And boy, was I excited that I did. What I appreciated most about my experience with Crutchfield and Wilson was the responsiveness of the entire office. They always made me feel as though I was the #1 client, which is so important when you're going through something like this. They also made me feel very much at ease. No question was off limits. And they all served as a great sounding board for me during this. Most importantly, I got the results that I was looking for in the time period I was looking for. I would recommend Crutchfield and Wilson to anyone who is in need of a good attorney.
My name is Jay. Crutchfield and Wilson are my attorneys, and this is my story. So I was going through a difficult time and had decided to get a divorce. And I had talked to a friend of mine who had used Greg, so I decided to come and see him and start the process with him. Not only has his staff been excellent, responsive, intelligent, but they always go the extra mile to help me feel at ease in a difficult situation. Greg was always available on weekends, nights, anytime that I needed to talk about a situation. I was constantly being asked different questions that I didn't know the answer to, and he was always there to answer it for me.